This morning in the Sunday Spotlight, new statistics from Customs and Border Protection show Tucson's stretch of border is among the busiest in this country. And Cochise County leaders say they are seeing the impact from the international line to further into the county. It comes as Congress is unable to pass a resolution to impeach the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Several Republican lawmakers in Congress joining Democrats, ending that effort, at least for now. Want you to take a look at this. Numbers show the Tucson sector here, the third busiest in this country, right behind El Paso and El Rio. This morning, the Cochise County Sheriff Mark Dannels says his deputies are busy around the clock dealing with everything from catching migrants to stopping teens trying to smuggle people into this country. We start our conversation this morning with the impact at the border right now.
Well, we measure it just based on our activity here in Cochise County, working with our partners, state, local, and federal, and we see the uptick. And when we see it, the community sees it. Part of why we're doing the Operation Safe Streets right now, as that picks up, we got to pick up our operational tempo, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to stay in pace and trying to get a handle on what's going on this border and trying to keep our community safe, all in one operational breath.
I want to talk about the businesses right there on the border. What's their reaction to all of this?
You know, you speak to most of the citizens in this county. When I stop by a business, I go in to get a drink at one of the convenience stores. The businesses totally understand what's going on. This is a border community. They understand border related activity. But what's different is the amount of border traffic that we're dealing with. And we deal with the gotaways, so we're not dealing with the give ups. It's not like they're walking up, giving up. These are the pursuits. These are the fight and flights. These are the trespass issues, you name it. So the citizens are on edge in this county, no doubt about it. They're frustrated because it feels like they've been abandoned down here by Washington, D.C. So it's very frustrating. I feel their pain, and that's why we're stepping up along with the state to do our part to keep them safe.
You talked about DC in a resolution or a push to impeach the secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, failed in DC. Representative Ciscomani in Southern Arizona has been pushing for that impeachment even since before he took office. 8 Republicans voted with the Democrats, so this is not going to move forward. I want to get your reaction to that.
Well, first of all, we're impeaching because of political ideologies instead of merit. If you look at the merit on this border, we look at the border security aspect of it. I mean, we're setting record numbers. I mean, look what we're just talking about here with the Tucson sector leading the nation. I think we're up 140% since last year at this time, month to month. I mean, there's nothing good. The 1,500 migrants that have died on U.S. soil coming across the border illegally in the last several years. Our numbers locally are up. I mean, so you look at the totality of what's going on this southern border. You look at the fentanyl. Nothing's a win-win. This is a lose-lose situation. So if you look at the merit, I mean, if this was a business trying to survive, yeah, he would not be there. But unfortunately, we deal with politics over merit. And that's, unfortunately, I call it political blinders, political flu. The bottom line is it's not working on this border.
Oh, if you were in Congress, would you support an impeachment based on what you see at the border, or do you think it's just a political stunt, really?
No, I would base it. If I was in Congress, as a sheriff, who have worked tirelessly to work with Washington, D.C. and Secretary Mayorkas, along with my national sheriffs and Western sheriffs and Southwest border partners, we've been unsuccessful too. So if I was in Congress, yeah, I'd have a real problem with his performance because the number one thing elected people do and people in leadership do is protect their communities, protect their citizens, and protect this country. And right now, it's a hard way to describe that he's doing that right now.
What's your message, would you say, to the Biden administration? Is it a come and help us? Is it a step up and do your job? Is it something in the middle? What would you tell them?
Well, let's get engaged. And this is something we've been saying on behalf of all our sheriff associations. I just met with the White House several weeks ago. I've been in dialogue with them over the last several weeks. And one thing I brought up to the White House is President Biden's the first president in historical times that has not met with one sheriff in this country. And we've talked to major county sheriffs, national sheriffs, Western and Southwest border. He has failed to sit down with one sheriff and engage community with that sheriff. So that's a message we're taking real hard to the White House right now, because until we can collectively come together, state, local, and federal, and until the president can actually get in a room with these elected sheriffs throughout the country that want to work for their communities, but we need the federal government, we need the White House there with us.
I want to end with something that you've talked about many, many times. You've spoken a ton about the human smuggling, the teens seeing these posts on social media. They smuggle people in return to get paid. You've talked about it extensively. What is your message to parents of these kids who think about doing this?
Well, first of all, know what they're on in social media. We know the vehicle to these young people is social media. That's their best friend. That's what they're growing up with. Social media is recruiting our young people, our kiddos, to go participate in international crime. Number two is if, look at their social media, but number two is know where your kids are at. Know where they're at all times. And I know that's easier said than done. But the bottom line is we got kids from all over coming to Cochise County to participate in international crime, placing themselves in danger, placing citizens in danger, and get in touch with your child. There's no better time than now as I speak.
And the sheriff goes on to say it's important for people in Cochise County to just simply not give up hope. He says he keeps reaching out to state and federal leaders for help and is continuing to push for answers. That is it for this week's Sunday Spotlight. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Andrew Capasso. 13 News Live this morning is back after this quick break.